So if you guys are ones that do the snaps or whatever before you warm up, it shouldn't go straight, right? Those are fastballs. Like, learn to let the ball fall down your fingertips more so that you can catch it. The catcher can hold their glove like this instead of here, and you're teaching them to use their fingers, because all the pitches, the rise ball, the curveball, everything is with our fingertips. Hi, welcome to the Weekly Dose. I'm Jamie Southern, and this week we are going to be talking about the drop ball. There are two common ways that people throw a drop ball, and that's a peel drop or a turnover. And so I threw a peel, but there are many people that throw a turnover. But I'm going to tell you kind of some secrets and kind of some things that I have found over the years of giving lessons to both, and you can kind of experiment or fine tune what you already throw. So my 10 and unders, pitchers that have thrown for usually at least a year and a half, where they have their fastball and they can hit their spots 8 out of 10 times, and their misses are still great misses, and they have a good to great changeup. That'll still develop every year. It'll get better and better. And so as long as it's a good changeup and pretty darn consistent, I usually go into a peel drop, and we just call it like bettering your fastball, right? It's a really good fastball, because when we get more spin on our fastball, it's gonna naturally drop because our fastball rotation is going the same way as a drop ball. So I throw the peel and I hold. My grip is going to be just like a 4-seam fastball. So I'm going to really make sure that my fingertips are on top of the seams, so I have something to really push and to get that extra tight spin on the ball. Okay? Now, the keys for me, and I will tell you, I did not have a great drop ball until I was 22 years old, when one of the USA pitching coaches kind of just said one little key thing, and it just clicked for me. And that's why it is so important for you to you're not betraying your pitching coach, but sometimes there is information out there that can help you. And if you are only going to one person, then you are only going to hear things their way. And so camps are very important to go to, because you get to have conversations. We get to talk about the drop ball. Oh, well, I used to do it this way. And they're like, well, have you tried it this way? And then you're like, oh my gosh, that really worked for me. So 22 years old, I'm like, dang it, because it wasn't even just a drift. It was like a breaking drop ball that I'm like, that could have really complemented my high screwball, right? If I have something that's kind of high and in and then low and out, it worked out. But I'm going to kind of tell you a key couple secrets that I use with my pitchers. So they're holding the ball in a 4-seam. And the key is for when I tell them, okay, when we throw a fastball, like our fingers and our thumb are usually pointing at the catcher, and the ball kind of rolls off of my fingers, right? And so I'm kind of underneath the ball. It's rolling off of my fingers, and it kind of just goes straight. But when I want to throw a peel drop, there are different ways, okay? And I know 2 common ways. I'm sure there's more out there. But a lot of the times people want to come here and pull up on the ball. And so they're coming here and they're spinning that ball so hard and tightly. I think it works. Obviously, that is a way. But for me right now, pulling up, it just even hurts my trap right here. And so it's very forceful to spin that ball and pull up, and it's not natural. You're probably going to have some pain throughout your journey, because coming around and pulling up is just not something that is natural, is easy. So the way that I teach this and learned from my coach was to focus on pointing your thumb to the ground. So as we come down, we are going to make sure we stay on top of the ball. If I want the ball to go down, I'm going to stay on top of the ball. And you can see my thumb is pointing straight down. So now I'm allowed to hold on to it a little bit longer because I'm on top of it. It's not going to go up unless I get behind the ball or underneath. So as I'm coming through, I'm going to make sure that I stay on top of the ball as long as I want to. So if I want to really get that drop ball to start as a strike and finish in the bottom of the strikeout, like the bottom of the zone, I'm able to, as long as I stay on top of the ball. And so as I'm getting to this point of release, I'm going to let my thumb come off and let the ball start to fall. And then I'm going to spin it and snap it and do all that you do on the end of your pitch. So now the difference is that I'm not like this for a fastball, but I am on top of it. And then I'm going to come. And so then I'm going to spin the ball down. If that kind of makes sense. And if it doesn't, let me know and ask some questions. So remember, it's very, once it clicks, it's easy because you get it. But there's two parts, right? We can't just release the ball right here because and stay on top, it's going to go in the dirt. We've got to make sure that our elbow can kind of come out just a little bit more, just a little bit longer, so I can stay on top of it longer. And then it's reach, and then it has to fall and spin. It's almost like you're going to feel like it's going to fall straight down, and it won't. That's where you're still going to push and snap and use your fingertips to spin the ball, and it's going to be able to get there. And so you're going to get that top rotation, right? That spinning the ball down so it can drop. Okay? So those are the peel. That's the peel. And I never stepped early. I know some pitching coaches say, well, shorten your stride. But for me, a lot of my pitches and all I did, I just focused on doing it with my fingers and my hand and staying on top of the ball. Now, if I take a shorter stride, my body position will be on top of this front leg more because my stride is shorter. But at the same time, I'm not going to throw it as hard because I'm not pushing off. So when pitching coaches say shorten your stride, they're talking maybe just a couple inches where the batter doesn't know that that is happening. Okay? Don't just take a little step off the mound and throw a drop ball, because even if you have a fabulous drop ball, they know that it's coming. It's not even going to be hard, right? So we want to make sure that we can still push off, but do the spin with your hand. And we want to make sure, let me just tell you with this, we want to make sure that when you are spinning it, right, here's this four-seam grip, that you are always getting that top four-seam rotation where the spin doctor ball will stay, flat on one side. So you can work on that. If you have been pitching for at least, a year and a half, couple years, and you're like got my fastballs down, can hit my spots. If you do, a lot of pitchers do the little snaps and spins before they warm up, right? Some people don't believe that, and that's everybody's opinion, and I'm not getting into all that. But I will say, if the reason I would have my daughters do it is not to warm up their wrist, right? Like, that's not what it is. I have my daughters do it to learn how to let the ball fall to their fingertips, to teach them how to spin the ball once it gets out of their hand. So for me, it's not them snapping. Oh, I'm snapping to my catcher. It's letting them learn how to let the ball fall and still push it, because their fastball is going to naturally just be a drop as they get more comfortable because it's all with their fingertips. So if you guys are ones that do the snaps or whatever before you warm up, it shouldn't go straight, right? Those are fastballs. Like, learn to let the ball fall down your fingertips more so that you can catch it. The catcher can hold their glove like this instead of here, and you're teaching them to use their fingers, because all the pitches, the rise ball, the curveball, everything is with our fingertips. So they've got to get comfortable of that ball falling and letting the tips of our fingers manipulate the ball, okay? The other pitch is a turnover drop. Now, the turnover drop is the same concept, and it's very hard to do. And everybody that has come to me for lessons that has a turnover, we film it slow motion because I say, I know you think you're turning this ball over, but most likely it's really just a peel. And then you're peeling the ball, and at the end of your pitch, you're just turning it over. So let's see together what that looks like. And 100% of the time, it's a peel, and then they just finish on top of the ball. So not a big deal because a peel drop is still as effective, but they need to maybe hold the ball a different way because a turnover drop, you're going to hold the ball differently than a peel. But if you're really peeling the ball, you probably should hold it like a peel and still then just peel the ball and then turn over and finish. So that's something maybe you can slow motion to see if your daughters, what they truly are doing at the end of their release. But let's talk about the turnover. So the turnover, remember, we're still trying to get the four-seam rotation. And so we're going to be gripping this ball. As you can see, we have our our little lines. And then I'm going to put my middle finger on the top of this big C and holding it that way. So now, as I'm going to come through, I'm going to come and I'll show you, but I'm going to try to turn it over and still get the four-seam rotation. Let me show it to you with a spin doctor ball. Here's my two lines. I'm going to put my middle finger on the seam because I'm going to push it down. And as I'm coming through, I'm going to try to keep that flat part of the ball facing the outside, okay? So, as you're coming down, right, you're going to come here and turn the ball over. So you're going to turn the ball over and get that four-seam rotation. Now, it's a little harder, than just throwing kind of a really good fastball, right? So sometimes if you are being taught a turnover, great, go with it. Keep learning it and keep practicing it. But I challenge you, if you have good four-seam rotation on your fastball, it might be easy for you just to really develop that into a peel too. And I will say, I've played with pitchers that throw a peel drop for the inside, their arm side, right? Because it's just easy, it's just right here. And then for the outside, then they kind of turned over more to come across their body. So you can have both. You don't have to pick, but figure out that there's more than one way. So if you're struggling with the way that you've been taught, ask me questions or go with it and try to learn something else because there are options. So we have our peel that we're going to come through. We're going to stay on top. We're going to let it fall before we even start snapping our fingers. And then we have the turnover that we're going to be here, and we're really working on turning that ball down. Now, when I said that sometimes the pitchers throw a turnover, but they really are peeling it, they will be here and they're holding it like their turnover, and they come here and they peel it out, and then they just turn over. So we got to make sure that you truly know what you're doing with your ball. Okay? I know, and Amanda will probably tell you this, but Amanda Freed has one of the best changeups in the world. And she thought she was doing something completely differently than she was really pitching, how she was pitching it. So sometimes you have this slow motion to be able to say, am I really doing that? Because if I'm not, then I need to fine tune things in a different way. So I challenge you, if you throw the turnover, to ask your pitching coach to slow motion. You say, I think I'm just really peeling it because isn't a turnover, I'm just supposed to stay on top of that ball? Okay, but let me know if you guys have any questions. The workout of the week, we will just be incorporating a lot of drop balls again, just like we did last week with the rise ball. So I will see you later if I don't hear from you with any suggestions, advice, or questions, all right? See you later.